dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us. It helps us grow, reach more amazing learners like you, and keep bringing you fresh and fun content every week. So don't forget, like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going strong. Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome back to another insightful journey into the English language with Idiom Insights. I'm Emma, your linguistic tour guide, ready to unpack some more quirky and useful phrases with you today. It's truly wonderful to have your company as we explore together.
And I'm Jack, your co-host and designated idiom decoder. I'm here to shed some light on these sometimes puzzling expressions and, of course, try to make you smile along the way. Think of me as your friendly neighborhood idiom expert, minus the cape. Always a pleasure to be on Idiom Insights.
It's always a pleasure hosting with you, Jack. And today, we have a fantastic set of idioms that really reflect different aspects of human experience and interaction. We'll be exploring phrases related to understanding others, detaching yourself from problems, openly showing your feelings, and what happens when life gets really tough. These are all common expressions you'll hear in various contexts, and understanding them will definitely enrich your English.
A truly fascinating mix. And to give you a little preview of the specific phrases we'll be diving into today on Idiom Insights, here's what's on our linguistic menu. We'll start by looking at walk a mile in someone's shoes, which is all about seeing things from another's perspective. Then we'll discuss wash your hands of something, for when you decide you're done with a difficult situation. After that, we'll explore wear your heart on your sleeve, describing someone who shows their emotions openly. And finally, we'll tackle when the chips are down, referring to those critical and difficult moments in life.
That gives our listeners a clear roadmap for today's episode. 4 powerful idioms coming right up.
Indeed. And before we jump into the first of these intriguing expressions and really break them down, a quick moment to chat with you, our wonderful audience. If you're finding these episodes of Idiom Insights helpful for your English learning and enjoying our little chats about idioms, please take a moment right now to subscribe or follow our podcast on your platform. Your support is genuinely appreciated and helps us reach more curious learners like you.
Absolutely. Hitting that subscribe button is a great way to make sure you don't miss any future episodes where we break down more useful idioms. And while you're at it, if you can leave a like or a quick rating on your platform, that sends a little signal to the universe, or at least the algorithm, that you enjoy what we're doing here on Idiom Insights. It really does make a difference, so thank you very much in advance for your support.
Okay, Emma, are you ready to step into the footwear of our first idiom and truly understand it?
I believe I am, Jack, as long as they're metaphorical shoes and don't pinch. Let's go! Excellent! Our very first idiom for today on Idiom Insights, as we mentioned, is walk a mile in someone's shoes.
Walk a mile in someone's shoes. This is a beautiful, simple idiom, but with a really profound meaning about empathy and understanding, isn't it? It means to try to understand another person's experiences, their difficulties, their challenges, or their unique point of view by imagining yourself exactly in their situation. It's about gaining a deeper perspective by metaphorically living their life, even just for a short distance, like a mile.
That's perfectly put, Jack. It's definitely not about literally swapping footwear, which would be a bit strange. It's about making a conscious, active effort to see the world entirely from someone else's perspective, to truly understand the challenges they face or the underlying reasons behind their actions or decisions. We use this idiom so often when we are talking about judging others. It serves as a crucial reminder that before we are quick to criticize someone or form a strong judgment about them, we should first try our very best to understand their background, their pressures, their circumstances, and their situation.
Exactly. It's incredibly easy to look at someone else's life, their struggles or the choices they make, and think to yourself, why did they do that? That seems like such a simple thing to fix. Or how could they handle that so badly? But this idiom wisely reminds us that we simply don't know the full story of their life. We haven't experienced their unique upbringing, the specific pressures they are under right now, their personal feelings, or their particular, perhaps very difficult, set of circumstances. Until you've metaphorically walked a mile in their shoes, until you've experienced even a fraction of what they've gone through, you really can't truly appreciate what they are facing or why they made those certain choices.
It strongly encourages compassion, patience, and a lack of hasty judgment. Imagine someone you know who is consistently late for work or for meetings. It's very easy, and perhaps tempting, to immediately think they are just lazy or perhaps disrespectful of other people's time. But if you were able to walk a mile in their shoes, even for a day, you might discover they are actually dealing with an incredibly difficult family situation at home every single morning, perhaps caring for an elderly parent or getting multiple young children ready for school. That makes leaving the house punctually an absolutely huge daily struggle. Understanding that situation doesn't necessarily excuse the lateness entirely, of course, but it provides vital context and encourages a much more empathetic and understanding response from you.
It's all about gaining that crucial, deeper understanding that comes from imagining yourself in their place. You might use it to advise a friend who is being critical of someone else. Hey, before you get really angry at your colleague for not finishing that report on time, maybe try to walk a mile in his shoes for a moment. You really don't know what kind of extreme pressure or personal difficulties he's under at home or at work right now that are affecting his ability to meet deadlines. It's a powerful plea for empathy, a request to pause and consider the other person's reality and their struggles before making any harsh judgments or criticism.
The origin is quite straightforward and intuitive, stemming from the literal idea that walking a long distance in someone else's actual shoes would give you a real physical sense of their journey and their comfort, or more likely, lack thereof. It's a simple but incredibly powerful metaphor for experiencing someone else's burden, their challenges, or their journey through life. It effectively highlights that direct or imagined experience is absolutely key to true understanding.
It really does. It emphasizes that a theoretical understanding of someone's situation is vastly different from having the actual lived experience of it. You can read countless books or articles about poverty, but you won't truly grasp the daily, grinding struggles of living in poverty until you've experienced some of those specific challenges yourself. That's the essence of walking a mile in their shoes. It's a call for putting yourself squarely and genuinely in someone else's place, not just thinking about it intellectually, but trying to connect with it emotionally and experientially.
It's a truly great phrase to keep in mind, and remember in any situation where you're tempted to judge someone quickly, perhaps based on limited information or your own biases. Just take a pause, a deep breath, and think to yourself, can I truly, honestly understand their perspective without first attempting to walk a mile in their shoes? It encourages patience and a more open mind.
A very wise thought, Emma, and an important practice for all of us. And to help our listeners hear this valuable idiom used in a more natural, flowing conversation, we have a short dialogue for you featuring Mia and Mark. Listen carefully to how Mark uses the idiom to encourage understanding in Mia.
Ugh, I just don't understand why Sarah is always so incredibly stressed out about her job. I mean, from where I stand, it seems pretty straightforward and manageable compared to my workload.
Well, you see her job from your perspective, Mia. You don't have her exact workload. You don't deal with her specific difficult clients, and you certainly don't have her particular boss, who I hear is quite demanding.
I guess, but still, she just seems overly worried and anxious all the time, even about small things. It's hard for me to relate to that level of stress.
Maybe you should try to walk a mile in her shoes before you judge her stress levels. You might understand the immense pressure she's under and the specific daily challenges she faces if you experience them yourself, even just for a day or two.
Yeah, I suppose you have a really valid point there, Mark. I hadn't really thought about looking at it that way. From her side specifically, it's easy to judge from the outside.
That's a crystal clear demonstration of the idiom being used naturally. Mark suggests Mia walk a mile in Sarah's shoes to help her understand why Sarah is experiencing such high levels of stress. He's prompting Mia to think beyond her own situation and perspective and to genuinely consider Sarah's specific workload, her difficult boss, and her daily pressures before forming a judgment about her stress.
Exactly. He's encouraging Mia to put herself in Sarah's position and try to imagine what it feels like being Sarah, facing her unique set of challenges day in and day out. It perfectly highlights that we can't truly understand someone's emotional state, their stress, or their behavior without attempting to experience or at least deeply understand their reality.
So, listeners, think about a time when you found it difficult to understand someone's actions or feelings, or perhaps a time when you felt that someone else needed to understand your specific situation better before judging you. How would you use the idiom walk a mile in someone's shoes in a sentence to describe that situation? Please share your examples in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. We love seeing how creatively and accurately you use these new phrases.
Your examples are always insightful and incredibly helpful for other learners. Now let's move on to our second idiom in today's episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about deciding to step away and let go of responsibility for a difficult situation. Our second idiom for today is wash your hands of something.
Wash your hands of something. This idiom means to decide very clearly that you will no longer be involved with something, to refuse to take any further responsibility for it, or to completely detach yourself from a difficult, problematic, or potentially risky situation. It's essentially a public or internal declaration that you are finished dealing with it and no longer consider it to be your concern or your problem.
That's absolutely right, Emma. It strongly implies a deliberate, conscious act of disassociation or separation from a situation. The origin is famously and historically linked to the biblical story of Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. When he was faced with the difficult decision of condemning Jesus to crucifixion, he famously called for a basin of water and washed his hands in front of the assembled crowd. This act was a symbolic gesture to show that he was not taking personal responsibility for the decision that had been made by others to crucify Jesus. That powerful symbolic image stuck in history and language, and now we use it more broadly to mean abandoning responsibility.
Exactly. So, when you wash your hands of something, you are clearly and deliberately declaring, either to others or just to yourself, that you are no longer responsible for that specific thing, situation, or problem, and you will not be involved in trying to fix it or deal with its consequences any further. Imagine you've been given responsibility for a project at work that is going terribly, terribly wrong, perhaps due to a lack of resources, poor planning by others, or factors entirely outside of your control, and you decide you simply cannot fix it and will not participate in it anymore. You might say to your colleagues or your boss, "This project is unfortunately a complete disaster, and I honestly don't see a way to salvage it successfully. I'm washing my hands of it."
It implies a strong sense of finality, like you are literally cleaning your hands of the entire messy situation or problem. It could be about a personal problem you tried very hard to help someone with, but couldn't, or a situation involving other people's consistently bad decisions or problematic behavior that you simply don't want to be associated with any longer. He tried patiently to help his friend with his ongoing financial problems for months, offering advice and support, but the friend wouldn't listen to any of his suggestions or change his habits, so he eventually, with great reluctance, had to wash his hands of the whole situation. He stopped trying to help or be involved because his efforts were futile.
It can also be used in more serious or even heartbreaking contexts, like a parent who, after years of trying everything they can, feels they must wash their hands of an adult child's persistent destructive behavior, like addiction or chronic criminal activity, because they have exhausted all possibilities and simply cannot control it or bear the burden of responsibility for it anymore. That's an incredibly difficult and painful decision, but it signifies them stepping away from direct responsibility for that person's specific behavior.
The absolute key point of the idiom is the clear rejection of responsibility or further involvement. You are symbolically cleaning your hands of the matter, as if to say, "My involvement is over, and this is no longer my burden or my problem to solve." It can sometimes sound a bit harsh, suggesting you are abandoning a situation or other people, but it very clearly and powerfully communicates that you are no longer involved or accountable for that particular issue.
It really emphasizes that deliberate, conscious decision to step away and remove yourself from a situation. It's not just passively letting something go or forgetting about it. It's an active, often difficult choice to remove yourself and your sense of responsibility from a situation that is often difficult, unpleasant, too complex to fix, or unfixable by your individual efforts.
Let's hear how Mia and Mark use "wash your hands of something" in a conversation about a tricky situation that someone decides they can no longer deal with.
Hey Mia, did you hear the news? They just announced they've completely canceled the office holiday party planning committee meeting that was scheduled for next week. And probably the party too.
Oh, really? Wow, that's sudden. I was wondering if they'd ever get it organized. That doesn't entirely surprise me, though. Planning anything fun for that many people in the office always seems to cause complications and disagreements.
Yeah, I know. Sarah was actually on that committee. and she told me yesterday it was getting absolutely impossible to get everyone on the same page and agree on anything simple, like the date or the food budget. Everyone had wildly different ideas and nobody wanted to compromise at all.
So, what exactly happened? Did the company just shut down the whole idea because of the disagreements?
Pretty much, according to Sarah. She said the manager who was overseeing the committee got so incredibly frustrated with the endless arguing, the emails flying back and forth, and the lack of progress. She just basically washed her hands of the whole thing entirely and made the executive decision not to have an office party at all this year.
Wow, she really just threw in the towel on the whole event because it was too much trouble. That's pretty decisive, although a bit sad for everyone hoping for a party.
That makes perfect sense and is a very clear use of the idiom. The manager was so completely frustrated by the committee's lack of agreement and constant arguing that she decided to wash her hands of the whole thing. She made the deliberate choice to give up her involvement and responsibility for the party planning because it had become too difficult, time-consuming, and stressful to manage.
Exactly. By washing her hands of it, she effectively and publicly announced that she was no longer going to attempt to deal with the problematic committee, the disagreements, or the stress. She detached herself completely from the situation and its outcome, which unfortunately meant no office party this year. It's a powerful way to say, I'm done. This is no longer my responsibility.
It's a clear example of someone in charge deciding that the trouble, the hassle, and the frustration weren't worth the effort anymore, and making the definitive decision to step away from the responsibility. Now it's your turn, listeners. Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed or frustrated by a situation to the point where you just had to wash your hands of something? Share your sentences using this idiom in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. Tell us what kind of situation you decided to walk away from or stop being responsible for.
It's a great idiom for describing that specific feeling of needing to let go of a problem that isn't yours to fix, or one you can't fix. All right, moving on. Our third idiom today is all about being open and transparent with your emotions. Our third idiom on Idiom Insights is wear your heart on your sleeve.
All right, moving on. Our third idiom today is all about being open and transparent with your emotions. Our third idiom on Idiom Insights is wear your heart on your sleeve. Wear your heart on your sleeve. This is a really lovely, slightly poetic idiom that paints a clear picture. It means to openly, freely, and visibly show your feelings and emotions without attempting to hide or conceal them in any way. If you wear your heart on your sleeve, people around you can very easily see and understand how you are feeling at any given moment. Whether you are experiencing happiness, sadness, anger, excitement, disappointment, or any other emotion, you don't try to mask or conceal your emotional state.
It's all about being very transparent, very open, and very expressive emotionally. The most commonly cited possible origin story for this idiom dates back to medieval times, specifically to jousting tournaments. Knights competing in these tournaments would sometimes tie a token given to them by the lady they admired, perhaps a scarf, a ribbon, or a flower, onto their sleeve before they entered the competition. This act publicly displayed their allegiance and their affection for that lady. Your heart represents your deepest feelings and emotions, and your sleeve is a visible external place to display something for everyone to see.
That is indeed a charming and fitting origin story, Jack. It perfectly fits the meaning of public, visible display of affection or emotion. A person who wears their heart on their sleeve is often seen as very genuine, very sincere, and perhaps also a little bit vulnerable because they make their emotions so easily accessible to others. They might cry quite easily when they feel sad or hurt, laugh very loudly and freely when they are happy, and show their frustration or anger openly on their face or through their reactions. What you see on the outside with them is a direct, unfiltered reflection of what you are feeling on the inside.
They definitely do not have a poker face. You can read their emotions like a book. This openness can be very endearing to others because you always know exactly where you stand with them. There are no hidden feelings or agendas. However, this emotional transparency can also make them more susceptible to getting hurt or taken advantage of because they are so open and emotionally exposed to the world. They feel things very deeply and show those feelings readily for everyone to see. You might say about someone, he's a very sensitive and expressive person. He really wears his heart on his sleeve. You always know exactly how he feels.
It's the complete opposite of being stoic, reserved, or emotionally guarded. People who wear their heart on their sleeve don't build emotional walls around their feelings. They allow them to be seen and expressed outwardly. This can manifest in positive ways, like showing genuine joy, intense enthusiasm, or deep affection very visibly, or in more challenging ways, like showing every disappointment, frustration, or moment of sadness immediately and obviously.
It's a very descriptive and memorable image, isn't it? You can almost picture someone's emotions literally attached to their arm for everyone to see and read. It vividly highlights the complete lack of emotional concealment. You could tell she was really upset about the negative feedback she received. She truly wears her heart on her sleeve and looked absolutely heartbroken and visibly disappointed. Her sadness and disappointment were clear and obvious to everyone around her.
It truly emphasizes that lack of disguise or effort to hide feelings. It's often a defining personality trait for some individuals. They aren't necessarily trying to get attention or be dramatic. It's simply how they are wired. Their emotions are very close to the surface and are easily expressed outwardly, almost without conscious effort.
Let's listen to Mia and Mark discussing someone they know at work who is known for being very open with her feelings. See if you can hear them use the idiom, wear your heart on your sleeve.
Hey, Mark, I was talking to our new colleague, Emily, earlier this morning by the coffee machine. She seemed a little bit down about something. Not her usual cheerful self.
Oh yeah? She seems like a really genuine and nice person, doesn't she? But I've definitely noticed that she doesn't hide her feelings very well at all.
I know exactly what you mean. I remember last week when she was so happy about landing that big new client for the company. You could see her excitement all over her face. She was practically bouncing around the office with joy.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. She definitely wears her heart on her sleeve. You always know exactly how she's feeling about anything that happens in the office, good or bad. There's no guessing with her.
It's kind of refreshing, actually, in a way. You always know where you stand with her, and her reactions are so genuine. You don't have to try and figure out what she's really thinking or feeling behind a poker face.
A great natural description of Emily and her personality. Mia and Mark clearly agree that she wears her heart on her sleeve, meaning she openly, visibly, and easily shows her emotions. They can tell exactly how she's feeling, whether she's happy, sad, or excited, because her feelings are openly visible and not hidden away.
It's a perfect, relatable example of someone whose emotions are easily read by others. She wears her heart on her sleeve, making her internal feelings transparent through her external expressions.
So listeners, do you know someone in your life, maybe a friend, family member, or colleague, who really wears their heart on their sleeve? Or perhaps you are someone who feels they wear your own heart on their sleeve. Share your sentences using this idiom in the comments section below this episode of Idiom Insights. Describe someone who is very open and transparent with their feelings.
It's a wonderful idiom for describing that kind of emotional openness and sincerity. Now let's move on to our fourth and final idiom for today's episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about facing moments of serious difficulty, crisis, or adversity in life. Our fourth and final idiom is, when the chips are down.
Now, let's move on to our fourth and final idiom for today's episode of Idiom Insights. This one is about facing moments of serious difficulty, crisis, or adversity in life. Our fourth and final idiom is, when the chips are down. When the chips are down. This expression means in a difficult, serious, critical, or crucial situation. It specifically refers to a time of crisis, a moment of severe testing when you are facing significant problems, major challenges, or intense adversity. It's about a moment of truth. Often when resources are low, the pressure is high, and the stakes are very significant.
This idiom comes from the world of gambling, specifically games like poker. The chips are the tokens used for betting money in the game. When the chips are down literally refers to a critical point in the game, like the final round, where players have already bet a significant amount of their chips, meaning they have a substantial portion of their resources and potential winnings at risk, and the situation is tense, serious, and critical. Your chips are literally placed on the table, committed to the outcome.
That origin makes perfect logical sense and provides a clear visual. In everyday language, when the chips are down describes a difficult, critical, or testing situation in life, at work, in a relationship, or any kind of significant endeavor. It's a moment of severe challenge that truly tests people, relationships, systems, or organizations. For example, you might hear someone say, We truly found out who our real, loyal friends were when the chips are down, and we lost everything we owned in the house fire. In that extreme moment of crisis and loss, true friends offered practical help and emotional support, while others perhaps disappeared or offered only shallow sympathy.
It's a phrase used powerfully to highlight moments of serious difficulty that reveal true character, loyalty, or strength under pressure. Despite being 2 goals down in the final minutes, the team showed incredible spirit and real determination when the chips are down and managed to score twice to draw the game. They performed exceptionally well under extreme pressure and in a crucial, seemingly losing situation.
It definitely implies a situation where failure or a very negative outcome is a real and present possibility, and the consequences of that outcome are significant and potentially devastating. It's not about minor annoyances or small problems. It's about facing serious difficulties, major crises. This could be financial ruin, a severe health crisis, the potential failure of a major project, intense competition that threatens your survival, or any other significant challenge.
It's very often used in a positive context to describe resilience, perseverance, and the way people support each other during those toughest times. Our local community really came together to help each other and support one another when the chips are down after the terrible storm destroyed many homes. The difficult, critical situation brought out the very best in people's character and their willingness to help.
It accurately describes those moments in life when you are truly tested, when you face your biggest obstacles or potential negative outcomes. That challenging, critical period is precisely when the chips are down. It's a moment of truth, where the true nature of people, or your own strength and capabilities, are revealed by how they react and perform under that intense pressure.
Let's listen to Mia and Mark discuss a challenging period that a friend went through and how the idiom, when the chips are down, applies to it.
I was just thinking about how incredibly tough things were for our friend Alex last year, after she suddenly lost her job at the factory and then, to make things worse, broke her leg just a few weeks later. It seemed like everything negative was happening to her all at once.
Oh, I absolutely remember that time, Mia. That was a really, truly difficult period for her, facing huge financial uncertainty, dealing with the physical pain and inability to work or even get around easily. Just everything seemed to go wrong for her.
Yeah, it really was a terrible time. But you know what? Her family and all her friends really stepped up in an amazing way to help her out through it. They brought her meals, helped her with shopping and errands she couldn't do, and just spent time with her to keep her spirits up when she was feeling really low.
That just goes to show you who your true support system is, doesn't it? You really find out who your genuine friends are and who you can truly count on for support and help when the chips are down, when you're facing your most difficult challenges.
Absolutely. They were all amazing and made such a difference for her during that awful time.
That dialogue beautifully illustrates the idiom and its meaning. Mark uses "when the chips are down" to refer to the difficult, serious, and critical situation Alex was facing. The combined crisis of losing her job and being physically incapacitated by a broken leg. He highlights that it was precisely during this moment of significant adversity that she discovered who her true, reliable friends and supporters were, those who would help her through the crisis.
It perfectly captures the sense of a serious, challenging situation that reveals important truths about people's loyalty, resilience, or character. When the chips are down is that moment of intense pressure and crisis that tests everyone involved.
It really is. And that brings us to the end of our 4 idioms for today on Idiom Insights. We've explored empathy and understanding others, the decision to detach from responsibility, the act of openly showing your emotions, and facing those critical, testing challenges in life.
We certainly have explored some rich and very human territory today. In this episode of Idiom Insights, we learned about understanding others by trying to walk a mile in someone's shoes, deciding to disclaim responsibility and wash your hands of something, openly showing your emotions and wear your heart on your sleeve, and referring to those difficult, serious, or crucial times as when the chips are down.
These are all incredibly useful and common idioms that you will definitely encounter if you immerse yourself in English, in movies, TV shows, books, and especially in real conversations with native English speakers. Mastering them will significantly improve your understanding and fluency in English. So please, please don't be shy. The absolute best way to learn them is to try using them yourself. Don't be afraid to experiment with them in your own conversations, practice writing them down, or even just saying them out loud to yourself.
Absolutely. Give them a try in a safe environment first if you like. And if you enjoyed this episode of Idiom Insights and found it helpful for your English learning journey today, please remember to show us your support and help us out by giving it a like or a quick rating on your podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to learn.
And to make absolutely sure you don't miss any future episodes where we break down more fascinating and useful English idioms, be sure to subscribe or follow Idiom Insights wherever you get your podcasts. Join our growing community.
Thank you so much for joining us today for another insightful episode. Your dedication to improving your English is truly inspiring to us.
It truly is. Keep practicing your English, keep exploring new idioms, and we'll be back soon with more Idiom Insights.
Until next time, keep learning, keep smiling, and remember these great idioms. Bye for now.
Goodbye, everyone.